Howdy, howdy, howdy. What's going on, everybody? What's up, Robert? You last. It's okay. There's the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So by that metric, it works. What's up, Jeff, David, Zachariah, Thomas Dubois, Lazy, Ocean Sailing, Darren. Hello, future millionaires. What's going on? You had a nice day in West Texas? It was so beautiful here. For those of you who joined my little walk for a few minutes, no. Yeah, it's a good day. It was good to be outside again after going through the wave of sickness in my house yesterday. And that kept me inside way too much. I don't do well when I'm indoors all the time. I just don't. I need fresh air. I need sunshine. I can tell the difference. My mind literally has major, I just think clearer, feel happier when I go outside. And it's just the way it is. Market Watcher, what's up? Lyrical, you were here first. I guess I can believe you, or I can check, see if you're lying to me. And Troy Mann was first, but he also needs a life. So I guess it wasn't worth it. Lyrical, what's going on? Queefer, Northwest, where's Waldo? M Echo, crazy, Brian, crazy. All right. Catch it twice in one day. Yeah, Jack. I know that early one was just a teaser, though, wasn't it? I didn't give you guys much time, so sorry about that. Shorties are on their last roll of quarters, Coopers. Things are looking interesting for sure. Craig saw where the NFL cheated at the last. I don't want to talk about it. It's for me, the grief is still too near. I can't do Super Bowl talk right now, or cheating talk. I don't want to. I saw that the Chiefs had not had a holding penalty in a single one of their Super Bowls, despite being the team with the most holding penalties during the year. So I don't know. But anyways, we still lost to Mahomes playing out of his mind at the end. So it is what it is. What's up, Maddie? Rich Mofos? Alerts, what's up, buddy? Yeah, Bezos sold another $2.3 billion of Amazon. I saw it, and I was actually going to share that tweet tonight, but you beat me to it. Yeah, that puts him up over almost 7. He's at like 6.5, 7 million now sold in the last 2 weeks. People are getting out, man. People are getting out. Moody, beautiful and sunny. Probably your last day skiing for a while. Oh, I'm so jealous you got to go skiing. We got no snow this year here. I could have gone up to the mountains and gotten snow, but no snow for me. I need snow. I just want a little bit, not long. Just give me a week worth every year, and that's enough. If NVIDIA has bad earnings or even mediocre earnings, it'll take the market. Yeah, you better believe it. And not only that, tomorrow's the FOMC minutes. And if there's even the word rate hike mentioned in those Fed minutes, it could get spicy tomorrow. I'm telling you, because of NVIDIA and the FOMC minutes, tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day to watch. We need to pay attention tomorrow. Definitely need to pay attention tomorrow. Family's getting better. My wife's all the way better. Most of my kids are better. Just the 2 oldest are weak. They're recovering. But other than that, we're almost done. So thank God. Against my Niners, yeah. Bill Cooper. Oh, you're so welcome, man. Listen, I am who I am. And you guys know it by this point. I'm going to share my faith, my views, my opinions, my passions with you guys. And that's just what I'm going to be. And I can't be fake. I used to do that, and it wasn't fun. And you can build a bigger following being fake or crazy or trying to impress everybody, but it's not worth it. It gets exhausting. So you're welcome. I'm just going to keep being me. What's up, Carl? Moody had a great day skiing in the sunshine, perfect snow. You want to say, hey, shorties, do you have a stress-free day too? You shouldn't be thinking about them on the ski slopes, but I like it. Reddit hit piece on ham. Was there a Reddit hit piece on ham? I heard something about one on Stock Twits. Akira, yo, pick up El Guapo. Have a cold 2 waiting for me, please. Things are getting interesting. Yep. Address why a red market is good for GTI. Okay, Market Watch. I'll get to that in a minute. I've talked about it 100 times, but I'll regurgitate it for you. What's up, KYP? We didn't need coverage on that last play, Mark. You're right. Powell's in trouble. I don't think Powell's in trouble. He's still got 2 years of his term left. He's not going anywhere. He's admitted he's not sure where to go. Well, yeah, I agree with that, but I think they're going to clamp down. I think he got rattled in December, and now he's starting to chart a course again because of all this data that's been coming out with inflation. And I think he's gonna keep it. I think the odds of raising the rates are very low. Maybe one rate hike coming up soon if the inflation keeps coming in hot. But I do think that they're definitely going to hold higher for longer. It'll be a while till they cut. Gretchen, you think NVIDIA will have good earnings? Too many people pumping it. I agree with you. I think they'll have good earnings tomorrow, but we do still need to watch. If it's even a little bit disappointing, it's going to be interesting. Oh, do I still think GTI could hit 500? 100%. Absolutely. I think easy once it runs. Absolutely. Warren Buffett sold $100 billion of Apple stock. What? $100 billion? No, I didn't see that. Where's that? That's crazy. You watch a good Wall Street movie? You called it. Jerome will break the hedgies' hearts. Don't get caught slipping, Jerome. Right? What's up, Katie Cat, Jasper, Nan Static? I ain't losing the hat. Sorry. It's in my blood. John, you haven't been on. You left your fiance. Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. John, yeah, man. I saw your message the other day about that, so I'm sorry. That sucks that happened. These things happen, and it sucks. I don't know what else to tell you, man. I don't know what happened, so sorry about that. Oh, thanks, Joel. Appreciate you. I'm not losing the hat. Nice try, PCAP. David, what do I think about investors at Fidelity? Tell them GTI shares are not tradable. It's just more proof. It's just more proof that we're right. That's what it is. Is that you, Pedro? You finally made it on in the chat. GTII going to Fidelity and them saying we have to check it's not fake shares is them telling us we're right. They just admitted that the fake shares are out there. And coming from TD, that's the person I saw transferring it. That's them also saying that they don't trust that TD has all the shares. That's a big tell. That's a big canary in the coal mine right there. That tells you they have issues. And I think it has a lot to do with the dividend, making things worse for them, making things tighter. They don't want to be accountable for it. They don't want to have more. Listen, nobody wants to take on more risk right now. Nobody. No, with the freaking BTFP about to be pulled, reverse repo going away, savings going away, we're about to have a liquidity crisis that might be the worst in, 20, 40 years, maybe further back. And how they're gonna get through it, I don't know. But they might have a way, they've surprised us before, but it'll all just be kicking the can down the road. But in the meantime, all these banks and brokers do not want to be taking on more risk. Leverage is drying up, and because of that. So they just told everybody even more so, we won't take your shares until we can prove they're real. Thank you. Thank you for admitting that GTII is a ticking time bomb full of counterfeit shares out there. Thank you. That's what I want to tell Fidelity for that. I mean, it sucks for for the transfer, but at the same time, you got to just think about what are they actually telling you. They're actually admitting there's a problem. And that's a great thing. So, I mean, again, every time people come and out and like a basher comes out and says there's no such thing as naked shorting, there's no counterfeit share problem, you guys are morons, you guys are invested in something stupid. Every single time they say that, we get more evidence. I mean, what do you want them to say at this point? It's like, okay, GTI's, you guys are idiots for going after the stock. Really? Okay, so what about what the NSCC said here about, Alpine having a concentrated short position? It's a problem. And this is the first stock we've ever seen get called out for that in a legal document. What about that? That's nothing. Okay, fine. What about our dividend not being able to be dispersed on time, and them each having a different excuse for why they can't deliver it? No, that doesn't mean nothing. Okay, what about when I try to go to Fidelity from TD and I try to transfer my shares and they tell me, oh, we have to check and make sure they're not fake shares. From TD, Ameritrade, one of the biggest brokers in the world, we have to make sure they're real shares. How much more evidence do you need? I mean, at this point, if you don't think there's counterfeit shares, if you don't think there's naked short selling, you're the idiot. And so the bashers are the ones, they're the ones coming out after us. And I'm watching them and I'm like, you guys are either morons or just pure evil trying to chase people away, making your 15 cents a tweet. Congratulations. I hope you love your terrible life. They're probably sitting like the dude in the South Park episode, World of Warcraft, and they're just, fat slobs in their mom's basement going, I'll get you guys. That's what I think of the bashers and the shills who say there's nothing here. That's who they are. They're lowlifes who have no, they haven't had a woman that wasn't on their VR headset and in their whole lives. And this is what they do. They're internet warriors, and it's how they feel special. So, but that's what I think about Fidelity saying that about TD. So hope that helped you. Hope that helped you understand. Good, John. You got rebuild your portfolio. Okay. Sorry, man. XRQ billionaires selling latest Thomas James videos, one to watch. Yeah. I mean, I've seen several things about the more and more billionaires selling. In fact, here we are. I'll just show you guys this. Okay. So smart money is selling like never before. And here's a chart showing you the smart money insider sales, the big guys. Look at the selling since January is off the charts. So there you go. 2 ticket numbers from TD Canada. Trust they haven't delivered your GTI shares. Yeah. What's the breakdown? What's going on? Just people are trying to transfer from TD, and their GTI is saying, or the Fidelity is saying, we have to confirm that your shares are real. So jump GTI getting interesting. My fight with Moo brokers turned. Now they're telling me I should have the shares without restriction. Still has not happened, but excuses shifting our way. That's interesting. Okay, you have to keep us updated on that if you get your, if you end up getting your dividend. Leader, GTI dividends will not transfer because the brokers DTCC and SEC is claiming GTI is non-compliance. I've not seen the DTCC or the SEC claim that. So I'd have to see that, leader. Because I haven't seen either of them claim that. It's just been, in fact, most of the brokers haven't claimed that either. I've only seen it from 1 or 2 of them. Oh, Steeple. Steeple's showing who he is. He's an internet keyboard warrior. Keyboard warrior Steeple in the house. I'm sorry, keyboard warrior. I'm going to go put you back in your mom's basement, except now you're not going to have a voice. So goodbye. We won't miss you. Loser. Kisser. GTI is not a shell company, leader. They said that, but that's actually technically not true. GTI can act as a shell company, but it's not a shell company I know what you're talking about. You're referring to that old rule from like the 1940s or 1920s. And GTI is actually not. I've already researched that. It's just not what it is. Paulion, Ace, I think it's going to be hard to get GTI orders filled if Finger goes first. It kind of seems like what you got. Maybe smaller buy orders coming from thousands of people. I mean, if Finger goes first, I do think that it might be hard to get big orders of GTII based on what we've been seeing. That does not mean we won't get any. But yes, I have been I said this the other night, that this might be the time to accumulate. When they go, and maybe we aren't able to buy in a bunch one to the next. We just might not be able to. And that's something we have to prepare for, because you got to remember these stocks are like way oversold. way oversold. And because they're oversold so much, they just might not sell it once they know it's about to pop. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Pedro, is that you for real? The hat stuff? It sounds like you. Amazon's going on to the Dow, replacing Walgreens. I just saw that. Ham actually tweeted that to me. I know the shills are coming out. I always think that's such a good thing. I love when the shills come out. That makes me very confident. Is there, they have to have a reason to come out of their internet chat rooms. They have to have a reason to leave their internet Dungeons and Dragons games. And what's the reason? It's because they're going to make their 50 cents a tweet. And so when they do that, they're getting paid to do it. They're being told to do it. So something has to move them. Something has to move them away from their VR porn headsets that, their mom bought for them. That some has to move them. And that's why you gotta know something's going on. Popeye's like, I am what I am. That was a terrible Popeye. I used to be able to do the laugh. No, can't do it anymore. Lost it. Ham, I don't think Ham went to Korea yet. Nope. I don't know what's going on with that. I haven't talked to him in a few days. Spar Sean Strickland to be. Listen, I ain't sparring no UFC people. I'm 40, man. He'll break me in half. Also, this body does not need to be shirtless on TV for people to watch. I'm just saying that I'll lose people. KM, oh man, KM is, I blocked him a long time ago. That guy, he tried to pretend like he was a good guy. So I let him hang around for way too long, but it got old. Tamal, very difficult to do GTI and only 33 cents. That alone's proof of fraud. I agree 100%. Leader, they aren't going to tell you that it's absolutely true. I'll give you the man to call. I mean, listen, we'll just see how it goes, Leader. I've done my own research. I don't see how, how it convinced me otherwise, but I mean, I'm open to talk to people. Do we have any chance of getting Ham on the Patrick Bet David podcast? I think you have to pay to do that, pay to play. Do I know why Ham and William didn't go to South Korea? No, I don't. I have no idea. Yep, that's what it was. Lance. Lyrical joke about night, yeah. Why do I think today sucked for our stock? Did today suck? I don't think today sucked. I think today was not a huge day, but did it suck? I think that's a strong assumption that I would disagree with. I mean, considering the market was down and they are also trying to attack, I mean, GTII got super attacked down to 30 and it bounced back up and held pretty well. Finger finished up today. ZJYL barely down. I mean, it wasn't a huge green day, but they also barely went down. Let's see after hours. So ZJYL and Finger down a little bit, but I wouldn't say it sucked. I mean, if you think today sucked, I struggle to think how you do on an actual hard day. What's wrong with beer? I'm not going into that, Pedro. I think today they came out wanting to sell after last week's momentum. That's my answer to your question. And they weren't able to attack it as much as they wanted to because, in my opinion, the market being down so much is hurting their liquidity. And so they're just going to have a harder and harder time attacking if this continues. Was there a buzzard around me today? I didn't see it. Shares are considered non-transactional. Leader, we'll have to talk more later. I got great hair. Thank you, KYP. Thank you. Remember when Ham tried to tell everybody I was bald? That didn't stick very long. And ever since then, I haven't had a haircut because I have to prove it to him. But thank you, guys. I do have a dad bod. Stop it, Mark. Joel, your GTI is your biggest holding at 5,800 shares. Finger 7 taped on. Nice. William had a hot date. Good for him. Retail's time is now. Everyone be ready. Tomorrow, Fed minutes and NVIDIA earnings. That's what I'm talking about, Nick. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I think we are I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow as far as the market. There's no way to say. But look, I mean, the market's already telling you what it thinks. It's down. Futures are down. They're not huge down, so nobody's saying like it's going to be apocryphal yet. We'll see what happens. But it's also not, they're not stable. It's not like it's only 5 points down in futures or 5 points up. It's not at that wait and see mode. It tells you that I have a feeling that NVIDIA will come in fine, maybe a little below expectations, but still solid. But I think the FOMC minutes are going to scare the market. I do. And we'll find out if that happens. So far, I've been pretty close to calling what the Fed's been doing. I've had a good pulse on this. We'll see if that continues. But already they're talking about no rate cuts until the fall. Yeah, I think our stocks are holding up well too. Carl, honestly, seeing some of these shill posts reassuring to me means they're worried and maybe squeeze would happen. Yeah, I don't think there's any maybe, but yeah, I agree with you, Carl. Killview post on Twitter this morning was what was trading at 55 a share? KYP's not hitting on me. That's funny. New York's giving migrants 10. I know, that's wild. I haven't heard anything new from Ham about Secret Service in about a week or two. So I'm sorry, Moody. Sorry. I'll try to speak louder. Mike, your transfer from TD to Fidelity finally got unblocked after sending your statements after hours, but they didn't take your dividend shares. Wow, they wouldn't transfer them? Oh, they do not want that liability. Wow. MMTLP investors will be successful without legal representation per the resolution. Have you heard some on that, Thomas, or are you just throwing that out there? William just needs to not be alone. We all love William. So let me go through a couple things here. Again, somebody already mentioned it, but yep, I had it queued and ready to go. Amazon's Bezos sells another 2.37 billion in stock. I do believe that puts them at about 6.5 billion in the last 2 weeks. That's a lot of stock selling. Why would you do that unless you think this is the peak? These guys don't sell their assets unless they believe they're not going to be up for much longer. Why would you? You're worth so much, you don't need to spend that money. That's why they sell these things. Otherwise, I mean, what could he possibly be spending 6.5 billion on? These guys don't spend their money. Do you understand? They take out loans based on what they own in stock, and then they just make more money off because they already have so much money. They invest that or whatever, and then that makes money, and then they end up never having to sell their stock, and they just keep getting richer and richer and richer. That's what happens when you're super rich and you're good at what you do, and you got the best financial minds in the world working for you to keep your money going. You don't sell stock like this. This is just not what they do. So this is a big red flag right here for the markets. And it's interesting to me that he's done 3 separate sales. He probably has to just keep easing it out a little bit at a time. But March is only 2 weeks away now. 2 weeks away. Today's the 20th. We are now 21 days. So 3 weeks away from BTFP being pulled. Remember when I said in late January when this first came out, what the Fed was planning on doing? I said that I think we're going to start seeing some crazy stuff leading up to that, and it's happening. Now we just need to know what's going to happen. Just have to watch and see if it actually tanks the market. Ramon, got a feeling everything runs a mark. They'll lock us out of jumping into other plays when it starts. I mean, if worst case scenario that I see for our stocks, okay, there are some really bad things everybody can guess a doomsday scenario where everything falls apart and we don't get paid everything. You can create that scenario, but realistically, I don't think that's a scenario. So I'm talking my realistic worst case scenario, if these all start running, is exactly what you just said. We have a big run, say ZJYL, and we go to buy a bunch of finger and we're unable to buy as much as we want. We all get a little bit, and the bull rush of everybody trying to get it spikes the price. Shorts have to sell. But, if you had 1,000 shares and you were trying to buy 10,000 more with the ZJYL money, maybe you're only able to get 2,000 more. And so you make that money on finger, and then it goes to GTII, and you want to buy, now you've had all this money built up, you want to buy 30,000 shares of GTII, but they don't sell them to you. Instead, they only sell you 3,000. And everybody, and it takes a while to get them, but everybody's doing it. And so that squeezes GTII. So we might be able to buy in less, but I don't think it's going to stop whether or not we get paid out or whether or not they squeeze. I think that's all going to work out just fine. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be little weird things along the way, but I don't think it's going to hurt us. And so that's why I'm not worried about it, but you know, we just got to be ready for any scenario and just make the most out of it. But if you still catch, you know, a couple squeezes back to back, and even if you're not able to buy as much on the second one, I mean, you still caught 2 squeezes. I think we all need to be happy, and it'll still be worth our time. So there you go. ZJYL is showing 55 this AM, Kilby. Wow, I did not see that. Anything we're waiting for on ZJYL? I don't think so. I think it's just trying to get the shorts to the point where they cover at this point, and I don't know of any catalysts. E-Trade canceled all your GTI finger GTC orders again, same as 2 weeks. Wow, so they're canceling them frequently now. Wild. Bezos doing it because of taxes? You really think so? That's a lot of selling for taxes. Bezos looking to buy GTI. One of those sales would send us quick. March Madness, here we come. Yep. He's in Florida. He sold stock, drops 30%. He buys back double the amount. Maybe. I haven't seen Amazon drop that much, though. Has it? The big drop today was NVIDIA. So, Northwest, I see the piece, Red Cross screening folks before giving them blood. Yeah, isn't that wild? I've never had a COVID vaccine. I never was scared of COVID, so I just don't. I live my life or I don't put anything in my body that's not natural unless I have no other choice. And that's just how I feel like is a smart way to live life. And that just seems common sense to me. And so that's how I've always lived my life, even before all this nonsense happened. And, and I've been pretty healthy. So a little too healthy, if you know what I mean, in the midsection. Thomas says he's not transferring MMTLP to AST. Interesting. I hear doing the opposite. So I don't know what the reasoning is, Thomas, either way, or actually for that reasoning for you. And there are more short plays out there. Absolutely there are, especially if retail gets loaded up with cash, then all of a sudden a lot of potential squeeze plays will open up. I mean, was it Pedro from Philly when he was on? He said that he thought there's possibly hundreds of them out there. So, yeah, I mean, if we can catch them before everything tanks, you just try to see what you can catch, and who knows what will happen. But I think there's major possibilities there. Are they still selling GTI shares? Who? Second attempt? Oh, did you not get an order in? Mark says, in 6 months, finger down 48%, GTI down 53% down. My opinion, you think now is the time to buy? I mean, I've thought you should, at these prices for the last couple of months, are a great time to accumulate anyways. Because, listen, what's the difference if you are playing GTII and you believe it's going to go very high like most of us do? What really is the difference between paying 20 cents or 40 cents? I know you can get more shares. I get that. Who is texting me? I'm going to turn that off. That's getting annoying. I know you can accumulate more shares, but at the same time, you're also just playing risk. I mean, will it go up? Will it go down? You don't know, but you still could accumulate a lot at these prices. And my only goal right now, and I don't have, guys, I mean, I'm tapped out again. I really don't have any money to put into anything. But I am trying to go to, accumulate as much as I can when I have extra. But that hasn't been happening lately. There's been no extra in this household the last couple months. XRQ, GTI finger, you feel will go over 1,000, 1,500. 15, I mean, if you're asking me, is it reasonable? I don't really know what reasonable means. None of these stocks are reasonable. as far as like what we're trying to do here. But is 1500 possible? I would say yes. I'd say the higher you go, the less likely it becomes. Let me just put it that way. So don't plan on anything high. Just save some shares to go for the moon if you can, after you've already made what you want to make, or made when you're selling a short squeeze. But don't try to catch something that high and then get screwed over because it didn't come close to that. Amy, I was talking about in 3 weeks, the BTFP program, which is the bank's funding program they started last year when the banks were all failing. They started that to re-liquidate the banks so they'd have money for loans, especially to buoy up the regional banks so they wouldn't the domino effect wouldn't continue and they'd all crash. They're pulling that program in 3 weeks. It's the end of it. He's already announced it. He's not going to go back on it. And I mean, regional banks are already struggling a great deal, and this whole commercial real estate tank is even making it worse. Reverse repo drying up is making it worse. So we're headed for a liquidity crisis in March, and we'll see how it goes. Wait, that's 3 weeks away from today. Paulion, you don't think these are the only squeezes? ZJYL and GDC came out. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Without working 1,000 years. Let's see here. You took 2 weeks paid vacation in March for my March Madness shout out. Oh man. Well, hey, there's no guarantees, so I hope you don't think I'm saying that. But what I am saying is that we do know we have certain things that are facts coming in March. One is BTFP being pulled, and I don't think they backtrack on that. It's been announced. Another is the reverse repo rate is extremely low right now, and it's getting lower with a zero marker come March if this trend continues. And then on top of that, we have personal savings rates about to reach zero by March at the rate we're on. So again, I don't know what they're going to pull. I don't know how they'll try to get out of it, if they even can. But we do know that March, one way or the other, is going to be volatile. So that's all we know. Vinman thinks Kenny Boy can identify real shares when sold and holds them for his co-conspirators, schedules cover, and then Kenny creates fakes at the same time to mitigate upward. You might not be wrong on that. Pedro breaks that down really well, how they do that. Thanks, John. Yeah, hit the like button. Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, if you guys don't mind hitting the like, sharing, subscribing. I think YouTube has been holding back my channel lately. I've just noticed some really weird things. My growth has slowed considerably. My ad revenues dried up. And that's all. And yet my analytics are very strong for a YouTube channel. In fact, I'd be in the 5% of best YouTube channels with my analytics. So I think there might be a shadow ban going on me. So please, subscribe, share if you guys don't mind. It helps. Yes, I eat yogurt on the carnivore, Moody. I do, because I eat dairy on the carnivore. How far are we away from the markets being fair for retail? That won't happen until this market is either crashes and it has to be rebuilt, or we get somebody like Patrick Byrne into the SEC chair and he just cleans house and really starts enforcing all the regulations they have. And those are the one or two things that have to happen. Yep. DA, glad you have your shares in GTII and Finger. Hearing everyone say they can't get shares, almost like taking with a buy button. Almost, huh? And in that case, we're fortunate. We're much more educated and prepared for this than the GameStop retail people were. When the buy button went there, they panicked. We're not. We're still trying to accumulate despite all this pressure, despite all the shills out, despite them slowing down our orders. And that just shows you that we're going to see, in my opinion, the kind of squeeze that GameStop wanted to see, and they were hoping and praying to see. Except for the people who thought they could go to 1 million share, because that's crazy. That's just crazy. Fix it, man. 650 counts on X blog. Don't put a BS. Absolutely, man. It's good to see you, Fix it, man. It's been a while. Good to see you again. Hegenstar, I have not seen news on ZJYL yet this week, but it's only been one day in the markets. Remember, we didn't have Monday. Lyrical, been trying to buy GTI for weeks on Schwab and giving me a hard time, no luck. Has anyone had the same result? I've heard a lot of people have that same result, actually. Ed Chabowski, can I answer this? When you sell and make gains, do you get taxed on the principal or the profit you make? It's a great question. I believe it's the profit, but I could be wrong on that because you also get to cut your losses for taxes. So I believe it's the profit. So it's not 100% vacation because of me. Oh, okay. You concur. All right. 87.29%. I like it. That's very specific. Dustin, you want to rule out people flooding these stocks if the Iraq dinar finally happens? Oh, absolutely. That'll happen too. I know a lot of people who have a lot of dinar that are in these plays. So if that happens, as some people are believing what could happen in the next few weeks, absolutely. If we can't buy GTI, how will price go up? Well, people are still buying, but just small orders, really. The big orders I don't see getting processed. So that keeps the pressure on. And if that pressure continues to go on and the shorts, for one, okay, so number one, let's be grateful we can't buy shares for this one reason. It means that they're flooding the market with less counterfeits. Because those counterfeits, when they sell them, who eats them up? We do. And so if there's less shares available, it means that the shorts, that's drying up for them. Pedro's been on this about the ruling last week against lenders from, I think it was the SEC. I don't have all the details. I need to read the rest of the story. But he's been talking about this, how he's noticed a shift ever since that ruling went in favor, the appeal ruling went in favor of the SEC. So this might be the beginning of the end of the smaller brokers, lenders like Lynn Partners, Kramers, of them being able to keep counterfeit sharing, creating counterfeit shares through naked shorting. So that might be what's happening, guys. And that might be why there's no shares available. So A, it could mean the naked shorting's drying up. B, it could mean, it tells us that nobody's selling. So how's this price going to go up? Well, the pressure is building because of that. They have to keep naked shorting it to keep the price down. If that pressure keeps building, that also means it's about time when margin calls or whatever else is going to come in to break the shorts. It means they're on the edge of having to buy in. And they buy in a different way than we do. You know, it's like the short sellers, they don't click buy on Fidelity. That, you know, they call in, they're, you know, to cover. So it's a different way, but that will send the price. So we don't need to worry about it on our end. Are you calling me? Okay, hold up. Sorry, man. Try again. I think that's Pedro, right? All right, hold up. What's up? You caught me in a rant.
What's that?
I was ranting.
About what?
About everything. That's why I missed your call. I'm putting you on.
Okay, hold up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro is joining us.
Sorry, man.
You're good.
Try again. I think that's Pedro, right? All right, hold on.
Oh, you got me on YouTube still? You got to mute it.
You're on a delay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you got to mute it.
What's happening?
Hey, man, you want to talk about what's going on?
Yeah.
What
sure.
you're seeing?
I got a little bit of time before the old man goes to bed.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, or what do you want to talk about?
Why don't you just talk about what you're seeing right now, especially with you've been talking about that ruling that just came out last week.
Well, yeah.
So what are you seeing with that?
We'll see. I mean, I'm trying to get a. Nobody really responded to me. I mean, I have a couple, but I don't really track all the names that have been in bed with toxic lenders. I know a few, but I'm just trying to build a list to watch, because everything, like I was saying last time, everything shows up in the stock. That's the one thing about this, is they can do all they want, but that's why 3-day signals I focus on because everything shows up in the stock. So after a ruling like that, I like to try to put together a basket of, I don't know, 10, 20 names that have all taken toxic lender money, and then track them, and then look for signs of people sneaking in or the change in behavior, right? So we've definitely seen a change in behavior in GTII. Today was on a 3-day. They got it by a penny down, but I think they just got ahead of failures on Friday, and that's why it pushed as hard as it did, because they sometimes they'll get ahead of it on a day 2, but it's kind of a stopgap thing. So I'm really intrigued to watch the action in GTII the rest of this week and next week. Something's brewing there. And so this basically, to put it in basic, simple terms, these toxic lenders they'll go to a small cap that needs money, and then they'll do some kind of a convertible preferred, and the strike on the convertible preferred might be well above the current trading price, but it doesn't matter. These guys will then go use that convertible preferred basically as a locate with their prime broker, saying, yeah, we have a bar over here. So it's quote unquote arbitrage, but they'll drill the company into the ground because they actually want the company to fail and keep coming to them. It's like a loan shark. They want to keep them coming for more money, and it becomes a death spiral type financing. Then there's language in that they have first rights on the assets and the other shit. So what these guys like is they thrive on lurking in the shadows and being unregulated. And so what this ruling was that the SEC was arguing that these companies should be forced to register with the SEC, basically as their prime business being buying and selling securities.
Wow.
And they won. Okay, so now we know that these guys don't like the sunlight, right? There's a great quote. I don't forget the quote, but sunlight's the best disinfectant. They do not want to fucking file with the SEC. I mean, I'm telling you, there's chaos. There is fucking chaos in toxic Lenderville. And people don't understand that there's like multiple layers to a lot of this toxic lending shit. There's third-party shops in Latin America. There's third-party shops in the Virgin Islands. So it's once removed, so they're not directly doing it. But that's a whole different call and a whole different discussion. But anytime you have a flashlight being shined on part of the business that's dark and in the secret places, they don't like it. Yeah. And so there's a lag effect. The ruling just happened last week.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a little bit of time. They don't just. I keep saying these fuckers don't just wake up one day and say, oh, golly gee, we lost, they won. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. That's why I always say to people, like, go back and look at the how fast this shit happens. Like, go back and look at how fast it took for GTII to go from whatever it was, 40 cents to $9.
Yeah, it's quick.
Matter of days. Right? You go back and look at the GME squeeze or the AMC squeeze. People think that these were long, drawn-out events. They were not.
Yeah.
They were building, and then they bust a fucking nut.
Yeah.
And then it happens really, really fast. So they can go from misery to whatever really, really quick. Why? Because these fuckers will not budge until they are flushed out. Yeah. That's it. That's it. That's simple. They will literally. It's an existential threat to their existence. Right. This is a threat to their entire business. They're not just going to roll over and say, "Okay, we win, we lose." No, they're going to fight. They're going to pull every fucking card they can. They're going to fight as dirty as they can. You know, and I've had so many people. I saw somebody on your thread saying that there's a Reddit thread about Ham, going after Ham. If I can count the number of guys, I've had at least 6 people come into me with all this shit about Ham.
Yeah.
Ham's that, Ham's this, Ham's that. And I'm like, look, I think you should probably be taking that up with Ham, because I'm really not your guy. Everything I deal with people on how they treat me and what I think based on my experience.
Yeah.
And I've never had one inkling of anything to think other than Ham as somebody just like myself, which has been at it for a long time and fucking hates these people.
Yeah.
Who do. And he's got the balls to really go out there, and I think he probably is pissing off some people, and they're probably sending people in to try to discredit him and undermine it, to get guys like me to turn on him. And I'm like, look, I'm not your fucking guy. You know, sorry, I'm not your guy. But they're trying. I mean, they've been trying for months.
Yeah.
I just block them. I'm like, fuck off. You know, just go take it up with somebody else. And look, you know, so that's how I see that. But I think the chatter, when that chatter starts coming in, I think we're making headway.
Absolutely.
Because somebody's telling these guys to come in and do that.
It's ramping up. It's been building up. I've had it more in my chat lately on here. I don't get it much on Twitter anymore because I've blocked so many of them. But that's what I thought when I saw the Ham story, because I think it's funny. It's like, I feel like common sense debunks the story pretty quick, because if they were just being paid to pump stocks, it doesn't really make sense that they pumped them down to 20 cents and they're still sticking around doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to look at that argument and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
exactly.
Like, really? I mean, then he should be out of business, because if he's in the pump game, guess what? He's not being very successful.
They said he's getting paid $300 an hour. I see him do like 5 hours a day on GTII, probably.
Next time you talk to him, tell him to call his guys and tell him to call me. I'll work for $300 an hour. Yeah, no problem. You know, it's kind of a ludicrous argument. It's like, and never in my life. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys, and I could go off on a couple of people that I know, and not in your circles as much, but some other guys that are absolutely 100% filthy. But I don't. Sure. I let it be. I just, like, nobody would put themselves out there like Ham does if they're dirty. It's like it's oil and water. It just does not work.
Exactly.
You don't put these guys are whatever. It's not even worth going after. But anyway, so that's my thought on the toxic lending guys. That this takes a little bit of time. I'm sure that this ruling is rippling through a lot of these shops, and they're nervous because the reality is some of these convertible prefers. I mean, the stock might be 50 cents, but the convertible was preferred has a strike of the underlying convert of 5, but they've been shorting the hell out of it from 3 down to 50 cents.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They're fucked up till $5. What are they going to do? Go convert at 5 and blow themselves up? No, that's the problem, right? So if they're telling their prime broker or whomever, oh yeah, we have a borrow, we're good. But in the real world, if they've got an average cost of 80 cents on a bazillion shares, converting at 5 is not going to fucking help them. It's going to put them out of business overnight.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the issue here. And so I'm not going to say that we're in a frothy situation yet. It's why I was out today saying, please send me any names you know that have done business with the Lincoln Parks of the world and all these other guys. Send them to me so I can build a fucking book, build a watch list, and start watching them. Because I'll go through them every fucking day, every minute, and I'll have alerts set on them and start watching to see if it starts rippling through. I suspect it'll take about a month, 3 weeks to a month, for it to kind of show up where these guys for a couple of weeks, wonder what the fuck they're going to do. And then if they're screwed, we'll see it. We'll see it show up. That's why I'm trying to build a list of names. And I only have a few names that people have given me. I'll go on my own and look for different stuff. But that's what I'm looking for, because you might be able to find a gem if you can start seeing the dominoes rolling through. You're like, oh, okay, let's take a look at this one. You know, and none of it's fundamental. I don't care. It's just a blinking light. But you can start to see that roll through, and that might give you greater confidence in the names that you know better. Right, so if you're watching 10 names or 20 names that you have no idea what they do, and they're all starting to boil, then it's going to eventually flow through, kind of to what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think's going on with our? What do you think could be the outcome of all this? Like the BTFP being pulled with inflation still going up and rate cuts getting pushed back. What do you think? What are you hearing in the market? How's this affecting them?
I think I think the next move the Fed's going to do is cutting rates. I don't think they're going to raise at all anymore.
Do you think they hold though for a while, because inflation came in pretty hot?
I think they cut.
Really?
I think they're going to cut. I do. Yeah, I think they're getting to the point where you can. I mean, it's just my own opinion. That they may use language to try to jawbone shit, but they're starting to bury banks now, like bury them.
Oh yeah.
And the impact there is far greater than letting inflation kind of run its course.
Yeah.
Inflation at these interest rates, and I'm not talking about aggressive dropping of rates, but a quarter point to basically send a message. They can let inflation run its course, and our economy is so dynamic that people will start planting fucking gardens. And then all of a sudden the prices of carrots and tomatoes and whatever are all going to drop, and then people will start buying carrots and tomato again, and inflation will, whatever. Technology is, in and of itself, technology is deflationary in every business. Yeah. It is. It's just 100%. Actually is.
Oh yeah.
And the rate of technology is not slowing down. So, but the Fed has literally put several banks out of business. And if they keep going, they're going to cause a real fucking problem, a much bigger problem than a little bit of hot inflation, right? Yeah. Hot inflation, the job market is still strong. The job market's fine. So people can afford it, and they can have choices of whether to spend or not. And so if shit's overpriced, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like eggs went crazy for a while. Well, guess what? Don't eat fucking eggs. Okay. Not going to eat some eggs. Then all of a sudden you saw that because these are perishable items, a lot of the shit is perishable items. They have a shelf life. And guess what? They start dropping the price, because if not, the retailers are going to eat it. So they drop the price. And then what happens is you've got inflation on that kind of stuff taken care of. Yeah. So as it relates to that, I think they're bordering on a real problem if they keep raising. I mean, a real fucking problem.
Yeah.
I'd be far more concerned if they raise again. Then they're going to crack the egg here, and maybe they want to crack the egg. I don't know. Maybe they want to crack the egg and crash it all. But then you're starting to crash like J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, and guess what? Those guys go, excuse me, and they, all these guys worked at Goldman, right? Or were on the Fed. I don't know. I just don't know. I think we're kind of at a breaking point a little bit where they're kind of getting close.
So what do you think, when do you think would be the first cut? Do you think they wait till June?
I think they're going to telegraph it. They'll telegraph it sooner than that. And you look at the futures, and you look kind of what I look at certain stocks to kind of get an idea. Believe it or not, I look at like Rocket Mortgage, RKT.
Okay.
It's as pure play of a loan originator and a refi name as there. And it's stubbornly, I'm long it on a 3-day signal, so I'm talking my book a little bit, but it's testing me. My stop loss is 10.99.
Yeah.
I think my cost is 12 and a quarter. So if it closes below 1099, I'm gonna blow it out. But it's holding stubbornly, and it's a crowded short. I know it's a crowded short because language of housing's this, housing's that, and they're all loading it, but it's not going down anymore.
Yeah.
And so I watch certain stocks to kind of see what the big boys think the Fed's going to do.
Yeah.
But I could be totally wrong. But I think the Fed's put, maybe the design was to put a few of the smaller, weaker banks out of business and consolidate power. That could be. And they did it.
Well, I mean, do you think even if they cut or telegraph a cut soon, do you think, I mean, to me, it looks like there's at least going to be some bank failures once they pull the BTFP, because reverse repo's due to run out in March too.
Correct. There's plenty of moving pieces, and I'll be the first to say it's not my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is individual names, and I watch the action and whatnot. But I also am a firm believer that the market will know. The market somebody knows all the time.
Sure.
And behavior in the market, today's shitty tape. I thought today was a very bullish day for a lot of the names that we follow. The stocks held up very well.
Yeah.
And this wasn't a bearish day.
No, I agree with you. I mean, especially the way it started, they were definitely attacking them early, and we held up. I mean,
the S&P, it was down 14 basis points.
Yeah.
It's off of all-time highs. You and I differ. I personally think that there's a greater chance of melt up than melt down.
Yeah.
And we haven't done that yet. But we can just agree to disagree there, just because I think there's not enough.
Well, you've been right so far, because I thought that back when it was back at like 4,500, and it's broken through 5,000 now. So, I mean,
well, to me, it's as simple as there's 60% fewer companies now than there were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
21 years ago, and so it's not about valuations. It's about simple stock inflation. There just aren't enough publicly traded companies for all the money.
Well, it's all passive investing now too in the big seven. Correct. Pretty much.
Correct. And so there's no group mind think. For years, all the portfolio managers would all use the same models. Like, you sell Apple at this time's revenues or this time's whatever. They have a multiple that they use, and they would all sell at the same time, and then they'd all buy back. Well, now you don't have that because there's no human being watching it. It's all passive investing.
Yeah.
So, that's a big shift. And look, 23 years ago, passive investing was 20% of invested assets, and now it's 51%.
Mm-hmm.
And so the inmates are running the asylum. All right, and then you have the ETFs that are involved and all the other shit.
Yeah.
It creates that situation.
So what if the banks start going though? Won't that affect like their ability to get more leverage to keep pushing up?
I think that's bullish for the micro caps that we track.
Okay. I like it.
If that happens, I think that's a bullish event, because what will happen is all the risk guys at the big prime brokers are going to start to pull in the leverage that they're extending to their customers.
Mm.
Right. So just like you might have been involved in a stock or at E-Trade or whatever, and they wake up and they're like, hey, the margin went from 20% to 30%.
Yeah.
Right? They up on you, and then you either need to sell some shares or you got to pony up some more cash to keep you at the same position. The same thing happens at the prime broker level on the institutional level. Same thing happens, right? They don't just keep extending the same credit when they're worried.
Mm-hmm.
They tighten up.
Yeah.
So that flows through, and there was an interesting. I've talked before about how it's a business model, right? I know it's a business model where if you have 1,000 microcaps and out of 1,000, 850 are going to fail, and 50 are going to do okay, 50 are going to do with the market, and 50 are going to be big stocks. Well, if you short them all and you have the loopholes in the regulatory system to be able to short them all, you're going to win. It's an actuarial model that if you have 85% of 1,000 failing, you're going to win, right? And then this is a question of managing the liabilities of the good companies, right? Of the companies that are going to make it out, and they pull, whatever. Well, that still holds true, but if the prime brokers call up and say, hey, you know what, you need to put up some more collateral here. You got to put up some more collateral, and because if they're long the index, they take the money from shorting and then they turn around and buy the IWMs. Sifu from Virtue it was funny. I saved it because he was talking about his short book, and he's like, well, we might be long the ETF and short the individual names. I'm like, bingo, there it is. That's what I've been talking about for 15 fucking years. He just said what I've been saying out loud, which is they short a bunch of the ones in the underlying index, and then they're long the index, and then without an uptick rule, and they can create their own performance on demand. That's why I talk about quarter-end mark jobs and year-end mark jobs. They can literally create their own outperformance relative to the underlying. So they can be long the IWMs and then short all the little companies in the Russell, and manipulate and rape and abuse the little ones to their benefit when they need the good mark, and then they go to their limited partners and say, look at us, we beat the market again, and give us more money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game. Well, if you tighten up the lending and the leverage there, and they're doing it 15 or 20x, meaning they're levered up like literally 15 to 20x, you can imagine what the slightest tightening will do. And then if you have a drop in the index, at the same time, the prime brokers are saying, you don't have any more credit here. We're actually calling in more. Then that's the same thing that happened in 2021, right? With GME starting to go, it started to pull in the leverage, and it started showing up in a bunch of other stocks. So that nothing's changed. That could certainly happen again tomorrow. And I keep talking and looking for some kind of a domino. Maybe it's the toxic lenders. The toxic lenders won't get up into the more legitimate companies, but it all starts somewhere because it's all intertwined. Like I always put up correlated charts of companies that should not be correlated, but they're correlated. And the only reason why they're correlated is that they sit in the same portfolio.
Yeah. Because
their businesses have nothing to do with each other. Mm-hmm. I keep talking about IZEA. I saw somebody on the thread saying, talk about IZEA.
Yeah.
IZEA has been trading with GameStop. It ran with GameStop and topped out with GameStop and all the way back, still trades with GameStop. And it's ludicrous, right? You have a company that's got $4 in cash, trades at $2, no debt, and they're doing $40 million in revenues. It's ridiculous, but they don't ever go away. These folks don't ever go away. AWH, the company I love that I've been involved with for a long time. It traded with GME. You know why? Because it was sitting in Gabe Plotkin's short book, and then it was offloaded and moved. These are all intertwined and they're all connected. So the smallest brush fire down in the bowels of the market in some tiny little companies can easily turn into a raging forest fire that jumps the road and burns down all the big houses. We've seen it. We just need the right environment. You need no rain for a while. You need big winds. You need all this. If you live in California, if you ever lived out west and you lived around forest fires, and I did, and you did too, because you lived in Northern California, you know what it's all about. The conditions have to be right for a forest fire to even start, right? So we need the right
once it starts,
conditions.
it's really hard to put out.
Correct. And so they try to block them off and keep them in like designated. They'll let stuff burn if it's not going to threaten anything. And that's what happened when Stevie Cohen and Kenny lent money to Gabe, lent him $3 billion. That's because the fire was about to jump the road in 2021 and burn their portfolios down. So when they lent him $3 billion, that was not because they liked him. That was because the fire was about to jump the road, and it was self-preservation, right? And so they did that, and then they moved positions. I've said we watched them move $85 million AWH somewhere. We don't know who sits on them now, but they don't ever go away, right? If they were forced to cover that stock, it would have gone to 500. They would have gone to 50 pre-split, 500 now. Or something like that. Wow. So this shit can burn quickly. I always tell people that this shit happens quick. It can happen really quickly. It can go from misery to, oh my God, really quick.
Yeah.
And but don't ask me when I think that can happen, or where do I think.
Yeah, timing's impossible to tell, but they are definitely, I mean, especially coming into March, it really seems like they're going to be juggling a lot of balls trying to keep it all up in the air.
I would agree with that statement completely. And you're starting to see some stuff boil and act a little bit better. And like I said, I mean, I posted today, I mean, this is the most number of names I own now on 3-day signals. I think it's like 11. That at one time, I can't remember the last time. And so that's generally indicative of a tightening behind the curtain. And so where it goes and how far it goes is really dependent upon the condition, how dry it is, and how heavy are the winds, where do the winds come from, to use the forest fire analogy. You can have a fire, but the conditions aren't right. But so if it all sets up, you can have a real big fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one way or the other, I mean, it seems like even if you're correct and there's and the market continues to melt up, it definitely seems to me like the guys on the side, though, running these deals, keeping these stocks down, their leverage is starting to, or I should say their hands are starting to slip. And so I don't think it's going to matter either way for us because of everything going on.
It always matters. It always matters, right? Because you don't know the level by which it's going to slip. Yeah, and
fair.
I'm generally in agreement, but I won't go so far as to say that. I mean, maybe in 3 days, maybe tomorrow, I'll agree with you that it's a roaring inferno when we start seeing like 15 names up 61% in a day, 20 like that. When they start to really boil and they can't contain, but they can still put out brush fires here and there, right? So until that day happens. And look, these prime brokers they also know that if they squeeze their clients too hard, it'll come back on them, right? So it's a delicate thing. It's like the old saying, right? Make sure when you borrow money from the bank, you borrow enough that they're your partner.
Yeah.
If you get in trouble. Well, it's kind of the same thing, and that's what happened in Archegos and other stuff. But so it's a delicate thing, and like I said, they'll all fight until the very last minute.
Yeah.
And then they'll all run for fucking cover.
Absolutely.
And then it all goes fucking haywire. And
they'll all start trying to cover their own asses.
Yeah, that's what happens. But they'll fight. Some of these clients are probably 25-year-old clients who have done a lot of business with their prime broker. They've earned a lot of favors. They've taken down bad deals. They've done a lot of good things. So it's not like they're going to just go cut their throats because that's their business. So it's a delicate thing that goes on here. Yeah. And the ideal situation is that it builds slowly and you get one-offs that go rather than it all happening at once. I don't think happening all at once is a good thing for anybody.
No, we want it one at a time. So obviously that way there's more money also to be paid out as it goes.
Well, yeah, because you can roll.
Exactly. Or you can just trust too, like all the liquidity is not completely gone and they just all declare bankruptcy or something. Yeah,
and I would tell people that, look, if it happens, you can be careful about chasing shit because you can then just go get yourself buried in something that's already run 500%.
Yeah,
and that's the challenge, right? And but it can happen, and that's why it happens quickly when it does happen. And I don't like to put price targets on things. People ask me, and I'm like, look, I'm just not. It needs to go to 3 before it can go to 4, and it needs to go to 4 before it can go to 5.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's not talk about some crazy numbers until it's fucking. It's like if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. It was great. She doesn't, so she's not. And, so let's stop worrying about that right now. Let's put one foot in front of another and watch stocks to see if they're changing their behavior and showing signs of stress on the short side. And that's where it starts. It's where they all start. Yeah. So focus on that. Don't focus on, doing your bean count of oh my God, if it goes to 50, it'll be worth. Well, that's a terrible exercise to do in your brain. It's terrible. It is.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Done it. I've been part of some that my life would be totally different if had I not blown one situation in my life. And so you learn the hard way on this stuff where you're like, wow, they can all really go all the way back down, you know? And when you think and they feel great, it can change quickly. So.
Yeah. What are you specifically watching for as far as signals? I know you got your 3-day. Anything else you're looking for?
Well, I've got to be honest, I mean, obviously, you know, interest rate stuff and the general, you know, what's the S&P doing, what's whatever, and signs of stress. And the S&P is just fucking bullish. It acts like a lot of people are trapped on the short side. I think there's an shorted situation in the Russell, in the IWMs. And so there's this constant battle for the shit that we do. There's this constant battle because they're playing the IWMs. They're also laying on names, the little tiny names that we follow. But when I look at the IWM chart, it's a bullish chart to me. I mean, it's certainly not bearish. It's not up to the right like the S&P, but it certainly doesn't look bearish to me. I could certainly move 10-15% here. Yeah. And that can put additional pressure on these guys. But no, right now I rely heavily on 3-day signals. I mean, I've got 11 positions on now from 3-day signals, and I've been taken out of a bunch of them that have worked. Other ones that are a couple that are close to stop losses. The other ones that are doing really well relative to kind of a heavy day in the market, and that's kind of positive to me. So I'm looking for new ones. I was hoping that GTII could do it today. Yeah. But as I said before, it's changing its stripes here. I will not be surprised if they get on it tomorrow and get it down. But they had to run for cover, and they didn't hand off enough shares, right? So on Friday it traded like 400,000 shares, something like that.
On Friday?
On Friday it traded 426,000 shares.
Oh, was that it? Wow, right? I thought it was more.
Yeah, and so did I, right? And I thought it was more also relative to like the bigger move days, like when you put that in perspective, like back in 2022 in September, it traded 2.71 million shares on kind of the ignition day. It was actually a day 3. You had September 20th, 21st, 22nd. That was your 3-day signal. And then that was closed at $1.24, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days later, it was $9. So, but that was on 2.7 million of ignition volume, whereas they only moved at most, they moved 300,000 shares, which to me, that's like a stopgap. Okay, we got to do something right now to try to just not get blown up right away here. And so I think there's going to be a bigger move out of it that's coming. How big, I don't know. But there's like, these are like, to me, that's a tremor before a bigger earthquake. How big the earthquake is, I don't know, but it gets my attention that, okay, well, maybe I'll get involved without a 3-day. If it kind of dips to 28, 29, because then I'll go, okay, I'll blow out at this stop here, but it's showing me enough that it's something's percolating, right?
Well, it's interesting too, because last week, that's when we heard people were calling around for shares again, and then I actually got word Friday morning before this went up. It was around noon. Somebody telling me that they weren't able to place orders, that they were, and that in fact Fidelity told them there's no more shares, and that happened around noon, and then it had its big blow up in the afternoon. I mean, this all happened after 1. It looks like 1 o'clock or so.
That's right. And so these things are all tied together. And so obviously somebody got a phone call and said, you got to cover whatever, 300,000 shares. And they said, oh, fuck. Okay. And if they actually had to go out and literally just straight buy 300,000 shares, GTI would have been $3. People don't understand how hard it is to buy small stocks, big quantities. I've did it for a long time.
Yeah.
If you're trying to buy millions of shares, it's ludicrous. So what they did was they took it up and they moved it from the left pocket to the right pocket just to get ahead. That's what I was saying before, that it struck me as kind of a, oh fuck, we just got a bad phone call saying we need to get 200,000 shares in, 300,000 shares in. They don't ever just go buy them and cover.
Yeah.
This is not what they move it up, and then they move the shares from the left pocket to the right pocket so that they can, quote unquote, satisfy over here. Yeah, we covered with you, but it's just in the other account over here with a different prime broker.
Yeah.
And so that shit goes on, but it all does marry together when you start hearing that, and then you see the action in the stocks. That's what I was saying before. It all shows up in the stocks. The one thing about it is that the great equalizer between retail and the institutions is it all shows up in the stock.
Yeah.
Right? They can't. It all shows up in the stock. And so if you watch the stock and you look for, changes in behavior, then you can pick up on things. I happen to use 3-day signals because it screws up with their IOU rolling over machine, as well as it can tell you when people that know something are trying to sneak in. And they'll do it quietly, but they're urgent. It's urgent, and they don't care, and they want to buy stock. And so I track them religiously, and then I have longer term positions like AWH and DMRC that I don't even look at. To be honest with you, I think AWH. If I'm wrong, it's going to go to 1. If I'm right, it goes to 50 or 100 because I know it's $1 billion intellectual property.
Wow.
But whether they can execute, whether they're allowed to be successful, I don't know. It's taken a long time, and there's a lot of people shooting against it. So manage it accordingly. But whatever. Everything else is a trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Personally. That's how I see it. And so, it just takes one to really get you going, and then you can really roll.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I got somebody asking actually about how you do the 3-day signals and how does it mess with the algos? What is it? What is the impact on the algorithms with the 3-day signal?
I won't tell you that I know completely. It's more. This has been developed over my buddy and I, JD, who's Trade CNBC. He was a market maker for Knight for years during the heyday, handling the biggest IPOs. He fucking knows what he's doing. And we started noticing this years and years ago. I mean, at least 10 years ago. And then it was T+3, so it had to be 4 days in a row. And then they shrunk it down to T+2. It revolves basically around the settlement system. So if you follow Patrick Byrne and you follow anybody that talks about continuous net settlement, they basically roll over IOUs. It's like turning pancakes over all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you can get up 3 days in a row, which is outside of the T+2 settlement window, right? Right now we're T+2.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get up 3 days in a row, it messes with their settlement and their problems.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's what it's very simple, and that's what it's based on.
That makes sense.
And so, but it's not a magic elixir, right? There's plenty that fail. But I've got a very basic, simple strategy and approach to it. But it works like, I'm going to say 70% of the time, which in the market is
huge.
Off the charts.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's huge if you manage it correctly. And the important part of it is it can keep you out of, if you're looking for a name that you don't know and you're looking to find an entry spot in a name, okay, it would have kept you out of GTII from, like the last 3-day signal. And if you notice, the last time it was like September 11th, and it actually worked. Even if you bought it on the bell that day, the following 2 days it went up another like 18%. But had you been on it and following it, you would have seen by noon, like, oh shit, this thing's going to go, and you would have gotten long, and you would have had a 30% trade. It kept you safe from September at 95 cents all the way down till still you still would not have bought the stock. And you could say, well, yeah, look at it now. It popped 35%, but it kept you from buying at 70, 80, 60, 50, 40, 30, all the way down and being buried in it. And you're far better off buying the stock at 55 cents on a 3-day signal, in my opinion, because it will indicate there's a chance for material movement to the upside. It doesn't matter. You're just looking for movement. It doesn't matter whether you're buying from 11 to 14 or 14 to 21. It doesn't matter. You're looking for something that indicates that the rate of change is going to change. And so I give you hundreds of examples of names that sometimes you get stopped out. Like Finger, I got stopped out. It worked fucking brilliantly. The first one was the first signal when I first got involved in the stock was on my birthday, on May 30th. It gave a signal, and I bought it for a couple of days. Bought options, $1 options, and it never stopped me out, and it went to it just went on a moonshot. And then following that, every 3-day signal really worked. 35%, 50%, 35%. And then it started not working. I got stopped out twice for 10% losses, but it kept you clean all the way from basically 6 to I'm long it now because it gave a signal on February 12th at $2.33. So then you buy it, half of it then, and then you buy it for 2 days following, and you set your stops and see what happens. And guess what? It's acting better now. So, but that kept you clean, kept your money clean from 6 to 2. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. From getting emotional and be like, oh my God, it's down from here, it's down from there. And so that's where I find it very valuable, is to kind of keep you safe and kind of when's the time to nibble in. And look, sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to get stopped out, and but you got to live by your stop outs and go, okay, I'm done at 10%, I'm going to move on. Wait for the next. And then, but you got to be willing to swing the bat the next time.
Absolutely.
And so, like, I'm watching VLCN real close. Signal.
Saw you post about it.
I'm watching MARK. I'm watching SOS. I'm watching MMAT. I'm watching a bunch for signals. VLCN is really interesting, but I'm not going to touch it until it can manage up 3. It had a good day 2 days ago on Friday. It looked like it was going to be great. Closed at 120, the upper end of the range, blah, blah, blah. And then they sat on it today. And so it might take 6 weeks for this to have another signal. But look, it can also, stocks explode without 3 days.
Sure.
So I'm not going to tell you that it can't. I'm just saying, for my purposes, that's the screener that I use in any of these small ones, unless I know them really, 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 really well.
Yeah.
And it's a fundamental buy.
Yeah.
But none of these other ones are fundamental buys. Digimark and AWH are fundamental buys to me. Everything else is a trade.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you seeing in Finger right now?
It's living on a signal. So I thought the action today in it was fine. Relative to kind of a heavier tape. It's kind of what you want to see. It signals at 233. It gave you 2 days to kind of to build your position behind it, and then it acted better coming out of it. And so I think my stop loss, I think my cost is I don't have it in front of me, but I think my cost is right around 228, and my stop is I think 11%. Which is whatever, 89% of 225. If it closes below there, I'll blow it out. But until then, then I have my levels offered higher, good till cancel for sale. And so sit and wait. That's it. Yeah. And look, I mean, I won't be around. If Finger goes to 10.5, I won't be around. It's not what I do. It's just not what I do. I'll be
that's fine.
I'll be up 11%, 17%, 21%, and 30% laid out.
Yeah.
Good till cancel. I won't change them. And that'll be it. And if it goes to whatever, I'll root everybody else on, but that's just not what I do.
Sure. That's
because
fine.
the thing is, because if you get taken out of your first offer up 11% and maybe your second one, and then you get stopped out down 10%, it's really a push of a trade because you made 10% on half your money and you lost 10% on half your money. It's a push. You're back to whatever. That's why I put stuff out where I do, because a lot of times you don't get taken out on all of them. You get taken out on one or two, and then when you get stopped out, you end up you don't lose much. You lose less money.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, that's why I like having you come on too, because you give us different perspective, and it's all about we're all learning.
There's nothing about Finger that I even know fundamentally. I don't follow it at all.
Yeah.
And I know all sorts about stocks that I know. I just don't follow this one fundamentally. So then it's just a blinking light.
Well, that's why it's kind of fun to ask you about them, because that means you come in with a completely clean perspective. So it's good to pick your brain on that.
There's this technician. Anybody who's older will know the name Ralph Akampora. He's a technical analyst who I think is with like Smith Barney and some other shops. The nickname we gave him was, Ralph Make Me Poorer. But he used to come when I was at a hedge fund. He used to come through, and I'd meet with him. My boss would meet with him, but one thing he did that was really unique. He would give you, and this was way before, like, the internet was what it was. They still had chart books, and he would come in and he would give you a chart book with like 20 charts, and he'd say, okay, just write buy, sell, or hold on these charts. But the charts had no names. You didn't know what stock it was. You just had to look at the chart pattern and see if you thought it was bullish or bearish. And he did this, and then you wrote down what you thought, and then on the back was the ticker. And he did that to kind of break through the name bias, like, oh, this is Microsoft. It's a great company. Well, it's a real bearish chart. And so he did that on purpose to kind of break your mind from looking at the symbol first and saying, oh, it's Microsoft. It can't go down, and that kind of thing. So I always try to just kind of you try to like cover up the symbol and try to look at something objectively as possible to see, is this a bullish or bearish chart? And it's sometimes you'll surprise yourself. You're like, oh shit, that's kind of bearish, but because the name or whatever, you just somehow inherently think it's bullish, but it's not. So that doesn't apply to anything we're talking about today. It's kind of an anecdotal story, but it is important to try to gain some objectivity, because you can get really wrapped up in certain names where you don't see the forest. You don't see the forest from the trees.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You don't see bullish patterns, and you don't see if you're short, you don't see the bullish patterns, and if you're long, you don't see the bearish patterns because you're wrapped up in it.
Sure. Absolutely. Do you? Somebody's asked a couple of times. Do you know anything about Hindenburg research?
Yeah, they're right up there with with the short and distort guys. Typically, they what was the one that they're on that I'm paying attention to now? There's one name that I'm following now. Someone said, yeah, Hindenburg went after them. The hard thing about Hindenburg is they're not dumb guys. Okay, they hire smart guys. Okay. They generally, like, I'm going to say 20% of what they talk about are genuine shorts. 50% are smash and grabs, right? They find a kernel of negative stuff, right? They just kind of beat on the seal pup because they can, and they do that. And then the other 30% of their business is mercenary for hire, where somebody calls them up and says, yeah, we need a hit piece here on this. It's true.
I believe you. I know.
Come out, you can usually see through them. Hindenburg wrote up 3 hit pieces in a 2-week period in Digimark in 2015, 14. And literally in a 2-week period, they wrote up 3 hit pieces, and they kept saying, "Stay tuned for part 2." Right? They've been trying to kill Digimark for for years and years and years. And then there's some that are legitimate, where they truly find companies that are just worthless pieces of shit, and that they go after them. But then there's the middle ground. So it really is a stock by stock endeavor if they're coming after a stock.
Yeah.
If whatever, I'm not going to dismiss them out of hand, because they've been on some pretty good ones and they've been right about some stuff. Mm-hmm. And they've also been dead wrong, but their behavior will tell you, because they'll disappear. It's literally like, okay, for 50 grand or 100 grand, we'll write up a one-time hit piece. Good luck to you. We're not doing anything more. And there'll be nothing else that follows it. And then other times they keep laying on it and getting on it and staying on it. Yeah. But there's certainly a part of their business is a mercenary type, and part of it is true short reporting, and then the middle ground is mostly smash and grab to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Would be my definition of it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what people were asking. Well, I don't have much else for you as far as questions tonight, man. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, no problem. Even though you got to get rid of the hat.
I can't. It's in my blood.
Yeah.
I feel like
just put on like a regular brown hat.
Well, if I had another brown hat, I would. I only have a couple Niners hats right now.
You have some other hat to put on.
Dude, I haven't bought another hat in years.
I'm looking at the screen and all I see is San Fran.
I'm sorry. It scars you so bad.
We got to change this. All right. Well, you have a good night, and tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, man, for sure. We'll have you on again soon. Everybody always loves when you come on. So,
all right, you be good.
Thanks, babe. Bye.
Cheers.
All right, that was a treat, huh, guys? Unexpected treat. Love having Pedro. Just can't have the kids watch while he's on. So, anyways, I'm gonna phase out, guys. I think that that was pretty good. It's been an hour and a half. I'm gonna go see my wife. I hope you guys enjoyed all that. I think it was really, really informative. Hey, hon. Tonight, I really love that he came on. Appreciate Pedro. I'll be back on again tomorrow and Thursday. All right, so we'll go over more. But yeah, for now, let's just keep watching. I know even Pedro and I, we differ on what we think the market might do based on what's coming. But one way or the other, he's on our side and thinks we're still going to win on this. So I love having him on and getting that different perspective. But all right, guys, I'm going to phase out though. I will end it with a prayer for all of those who want to be here for it. You guys, the rest of you, have a great night. God bless. Please like, subscribe on the way out. And let's just end it with a quick prayer. I'll bless you guys, and we'll have a good night. All right. So, all right. Father God, we love you. Thank you, God, for people like Pedro. I love that guy. And just thank you for all the knowledge he shares with us. And I pray that we all become better and smarter after tonight. And yeah, I just know there's so many good people fighting in this, and I'm so excited for where we're headed. I really do. I feel amped up after he talks, and I know that just is it's just the power of all working together. So, and different perspectives, different gifts all coming together. I love it. So just bless everybody here, Lord. I pray we have a great week going forward. And just, God, we just pray that the pressure continues to go on those who are cheating good people, and that we can just get just, fair markets, Lord, going forward. And those of us willing to take the risk in the meantime, in the fight, will also be made prosperous as a result. So thank you, Lord. Bless everybody here. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Love you guys. Bless y'all. Have a great night. I will see you all.